This might be the most impactful update any Splatoon has ever gotten, at least to my memory, because in the 11.0 update coming out in 2 days, they're adding some major new gameplay features, and along with a few significant tweaks, along with the usual balance changes, that are really going to have a big impact on your moment-to-moment gameplay. Let's take a look at what I'm talking about, and since there are videos here, let me go and get out of the way so we can show this off in full as we go through this. So I'll link to this in the description below, but first of all, one of the big new additions is Flow Aura, a state you can enter if you kill multiple opponents in succession. Take a look at this, as it basically powers you up. Did you see the ink spots appearing around your character as you killed each one? Look at this again. Look at your character. Yeah, that's kind of crazy, right? And during Flow Aura, which lasts for about 30 seconds or so, though you can extend it by killing more opponents in that time, it will give you a boost to your run speed, your swim speed, ink resistance, and intensity action. On top of, again, expanding the ink circle around you, or making an ink blot around you. So, pretty freaking cool. So, we have another video here of it. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, there you go, right? Man. Wipeout. One person wipeout. Alright. Let's move on, because to help prevent that for the opposing team, possibly, there's also a new addition being health bars that appear above your opponents after they've taken damage. They stay on screen for about 3 seconds, after each hit of damage, and we can see it filling back up there too. Now, if you're hidden outside or in ink or whatever, it won't appear then. But yeah, having this and knowing when your opponent is regaining health or not could be freaking huge. On top of this, you can also see your opponent's ink gauges, or sorry, your teammates' ink gauges as well. So, so if you want to keep an eye on how your teammates are doing, if they're nearby, you can do that. So yeah, really good. Next up is a pretty big change, literally, to how hit detection works when in swim mode. As I specifically mentioned here, that back in the original game, and since then, they made it easier to target, or they made it, they gave some leeway to targeting players when they're in swim mode because of how motion controls worked and people were first getting used to it back then. But now that's been, what, 10 years later, people have gotten pretty good at the aiming, and they realized they needed to change the hitboxes, at least in swim mode, but also for your shots too. So first of all, in this image you can see how the hitbox is changing when in swim mode to be a little bit smaller in the 11.0 update, which will make it harder to target opponents in swim mode. However, to compensate for this, because they realize it'd be no fun if it's too difficult to hit opponents, they're making your shot size bigger, specifically for all kinds of weapons, but short-range weapons in particular are getting the bigger benefit, having a much bigger hitbox, at least relative to the longer-range weapons, which have only a slight hitbox increase. So yeah, if you play a shorter-range weapon, this will be a bigger benefit to you, especially as it'll now incentivize you to get even up close and even more personal with your opponents, as again, it'll be to your benefit, again, as opposed to having long-range weapons in which you don't get that same benefit. Finally, we have a change to how stealth jumps works, because Nintendo wanted to prevent a situation in which an entire team could overwhelm an individual player or another team by just all stealth jumping to the same place. So what they've done now is that they've made it so if you're wearing stealth gear, which they're not in this first clip, but you will see in the second clip, if you're wearing stealth gear, your jumps will take longer the farther you're traveling, which you're gonna see in a moment here. That was no stealth gear. Here's a stealth gear where they're doing a super jump, or stealth jump, and you can see that, again, the person on the right who's going farther is in the air much longer. So that's pretty cool, and it's going to be a hindrance, or de-incentivize you from all jumping in the same place, or at least using that stealth jump as often, perhaps. So I think it's pretty interesting and should help better balance the game. So those are the main additions, but there are also even more game content adjustments, which I'll let you read for yourself. I'll also link to them in the description below. There's a lot of balance changes. They have some changes to Splatoon 3. There's some bug fixes here. So yeah, if you want to read them for yourself, you can either hit pause or just click the link in the description below. So with that, everyone, thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you later. Bye, everyone.